All right, so we continue on chapter 2 about man. Now, this topic on evolution is very important because, actually, why do you think so? Why do you think this topic on whether it's creation or evolution is very important? Justin, why do you think so? It concerns what? It concerns sin. Okay, what do you mean by that?
If evolution is true regarding Eden is false, that means there's no sin.
Right. So if evolution were true, then the account of the Garden of Eden, the account of creation, the Garden of Eden, are all not true then, right? Then if that's the case, then there's no fall. No fall means no sin. No sin means no need for a savior. That is why Christianity have reached a stage where they begin to interpret the scriptures in a way that says, well, sin and all this is not a real thing. And because sin is not a real thing, then hell is not a real thing, right? Hell is not a real thing. So it's all about being a good person on earth. That is all. And therefore, Jesus Christ saving us, what it means is Jesus Christ is saving us from being a bad person on earth, helping us to be a good person on earth. That's why you end up with a social gospel. Do you understand that evolution changes how a Christian would eventually view Christianity? That is very, very crucial. So when you hear of theistic evolution, maybe what is theistic evolution? God created through evolution, you must reject it because it is this very idea that has turned Christianity into, or rather has spawned the false gospel over time. Okay? Now, in fact, if you look, we must examine this concept of evolution, be clear in our minds and settle it. All right, page 13 or page 29. Now look at what evolution is. Evolution is first and foremost a theory. Say, understand that. It's a theory. It is not fact. It has never been proven. And it cannot be proven. So even, now anyone who is an honest scientist would admit to this. And when there are many unbelieving honest scientists, they also say that it's a theory. Now, a theory is something that you make assumptions and then you say this is probably theoretically how it happened. But science does not work this way, right? We said already. Science means it's something that can be repeatedly proven by tests, by experiment, and the results always the same, right? So you can test gravity. Gravity, you can repeatedly test it. It is true. What speed? What is the constant? Always the same. So that's science, things that you can prove. And there is evidence. So here, evolution has never been proven. When Charles Darwin, or maybe let's now then move to page 15, all right? 15 or 31. 15 or 31. Now, what does this theory say? Evolution theory. The theory says life originated eons of time ago, maybe billions of years ago. Now, but what science have admitted, there is no sure scientific evidence available. Science, at the end of the day, says, well, what about this? I don't know. What about that? I don't know. Now, I want to say one thing. What happens if a person says to you, Clara, but Christianity is the same what? Christianity is not science what? Christianity is, you cannot see God also. Then you ask them back, you also cannot see all these things, right? You choose to believe these things. But I think later on when we study the Bible, all right, we will find that the Bible is actually extremely scientific. Why do you think so? Because God is the one who created the universe. We studied that. Everything in the universe, there's no one can explain things in this universe better than the Creator Himself. All right. So Christianity is very scientific because God created science. But this is not science. This is theory. So you must settle in your heart, this is simply a theory that Charles Darwin came up with. Now let's look further. So life originated millions of years ago. Now number 2, life started by spontaneous generation when conditions were right. So it is chance. In other words, science has never been able, or the right hand column, never been able to succeed in creating life from lifeless material. Spontaneous generation has never been observed to happen. So science will have to admit the concept of there were in existence lifeless things. They just mix, and then a living cell came to existence. Means from lifeless things became a living thing. Okay? You know what's the difference between you and a chair? The chair is lifeless. But it is a thing. It is a material that exists. Understand? It is lifeless. But you, animals, are living. Okay? So, can a chair suddenly, over time, many billions of years ago, exist? Presume a chair exists at that time, right? Billions of years later, the chair starts to get up, walk, eat, think, and teach you. This is what evolution is. All this lifeless thing finally created a living thing. And then from what? A single living cell spawned all sorts of living things. Now, until now, thousands and thousands of years, science have never been able to observe, or even when they try, they cannot make a non-living thing into a living thing. All right? So next, and the chance of that is what? It's impossible. In fact, now, Charles Darwin wrote this when he came up with this theory. All right? Charles Darwin, he did not say this science, he says this is my theory. Now, he says to suppose that the eye could have been formed by natural selection. Means, students will know what is natural selection. Shenrei, what's natural selection? Didn't do bio. Who did bio? Anna? No? Abigail? No. Justin, I'm sure you did. Joash, where's Joash? Well, very fast, send my brother. Where's Joash? Joash, what's natural selection? Say again? Survival of the fittest. Now, in order for something to survive and to function in the environment, the fittest, the most fit organism will survive. And say you see, eyes need to see, right? If not, this thing that is existing will fall, will be eaten by other things. So eyes must develop until it can see, then can respond. Another thing attacking it, it can escape. So it will be the fittest. Now, in order for the eye to be formed by natural selection, and he says this, Charles Darwin, in page 175 of his book, The Origin of Species, he says, I freely confess. He said, to think that the eye can be formed by evolution, I freely confess, is absurd in the highest degree. Means when he wrote about how an eye got formed and all that, he said actually to understand how the eye works, when we know how the eye works, you know how your eye works? When light shines in, it can process the light, it can process image, it can send signal out. The slightest change in your lenses, you need to wear glasses, or you can become blind, or you can see things upside down. It's perfect. It's perfect. Now he said for that to just form, is just like, we use the example for the video camera, that eye behind that can record, that can store things, that can process light and all that, is because I Ching took all the parts and shook it in his bag for 1 billion years, and then it came out like that. So that's why even he said that it's absurd. He admitted it's absurd. But yet, he said, but I believe it can happen. Huh? So it's like I Ching say, yeah, it's absurd lah. But actually, I still believe it can happen. The refusal to admit that there is a God that created makes man say such thing. Alright? So now, if you have to admit there's a God that created, then you have to say evolution is false. So when man says, no matter how absurd, I want to believe it. And I believe it can be. So this is what evolution is. He says it's absurd, but I want to believe it. Now, point number 3, page 15 or 31. No, evolution says that simple forms of life, now we are very complex form of lives, are constantly becoming more highly organized and developed by themselves. But science say things only become more degenerate and less organized when left to themselves. Science have to openly admit things do not become better when you leave it there. They degrade. They become more disorganized. Now, if evolution were true, if evolution were true, means survival of the fittest, means as a person evolve, okay, if evolution were true, what it must mean that evolution is becoming better, higher form of life, right? If that were true, then I am sure that over time we will have more hands. Do you feel that not enough hands when you're driving? Huh? One hand driving, one hand changing gear if you have driving manual. Alright, 2 hands driving manual, and then your kid jumping up and down, you wish you another 2 more hands, right? To control them. But you don't. If it's survival of fittest, there's so many times we need more hands. How come we are not growing more hands? How come? I think we will need eyes behind our back. For sure, because so many people get one punch, right? From the back. The survival of fittest, over time, we will definitely develop more. But no one has. Things do not get better. We only degrade, right? Which one become, over time, men live longer and longer and longer. Science is telling us man's life is shortening. So here, we know that it is, when left to themselves, it does not evolve to something better and better. Point 4, process of evolution. All species of animal came from process of evolution. But again, science have never been able to observe one species becoming another. Now, one of the biggest problem in evolution theory, Daniel, what's the biggest problem in evolution theory? What do you think it is? Do you study that in school? No, okay, not yet. So you must understand all this, alright? So you pay attention. So that when your school teach that, you understand in your heart. Okay, that's what BBK is supposed to help you. Now, evolution says from one single cell, it evolved, then different species come about. But that's one thing that they also admit is very embarrassing. They cannot ever see, they've never ever seen, they just have the theory, but they've never seen one species become another. You know what's a species? A dog, family of feline, for example. They're 4 legs, but family of feline is different from family of canine, right? They also have 4 legs and tail, right? But have you ever seen over time a cat become a dog? They may act like a dog, but it never becomes a dog. So, or a bird become what do you want? A bird become a bird become a hamster. A hamster become a elephant. Never ever seen, the species always remain in their kind, okay? So evolution, because when God created, we'll study God's creation afterwards. God created species. But because they don't want to believe in God's creation, they have to say, oh, species also came through evolution. But they know that is one of their biggest weak points. So it's a theory, that's all. Now, actually, when people say, you are so stupid to believe in God creating, how do you feel in your heart, CP? Do you feel embarrassed? Now, because over time, Christians became embarrassed. You're so stupid. You live in this cave age. There's no something like cave age. You live in this cave age where you believe in unscientific things, in superstitious things, in supernatural power creating. CP, we live in scientific age. Which university you go to? Murdoch. Well-known university some more. And you believe in these things. How would you feel in your heart? Embarrassed? Say again? How you feel? Don't care lah. Don't care lah. Over time, Christians became embarrassed. When you say, hey, how you explain species? How you explain all these things? How you explain? Then the Christian became a bit uncomfortable, and then they say, yeah, I think maybe God created through evolution. God gave us the account we studied last week. The Christian must remember that what God says is true, what God says is His glory. Understand? God said, I created, is His glory. You must never be ashamed when God said, I spoke and species came about. I spoke and life came about. You must never be embarrassed. You must be like, CP, I don't care. Maybe in your mind you should think, actually you are the one that is crazy, not me. You believe in something that, you believe in the fact that you can put parts of a camera, shake it in the back and a camera can come out. I think you are crazier, right? So must never be ashamed or embarrassed, right, Daniel? Always remember that. So it's about God's glory. We'll see more afterwards. Now next, number 5, man evolved from the higher apes. So species form, and then apes from monkeys, from apes progressed to apes, and then higher apes, and then man became man. You see all the evolution drawing is what? This bend over ape, bend over monkey, then slowly stand up, ape, then slowly stand up, man, right? Now what does the Bible say? Joash, what does the Bible say? God is created in the... Hey, man is created in the image of God, right? Man is created in the image of God. I always say that the Christian who want to believe in theistic evolution, you came from a monkey. Satan created this to mock God, understand? Man is created in the image of God. But I say no, you are created from monkeys, or rather you came from monkeys. Daniel, you like it when someone say, Daniel, you came from a monkey? No, right? It's a mockery of God. The Christian want to believe that will fall into this same mockery. Man is created in the image of God. It's very different. All right. So a Christian who believes in that is foolish. That's why the Bible say, in thinking that they are wise, they became fools. Now, last but not least, before we move on, let's look at page 14 or page 30, 14 or 30 at the bottom. Now, this is an important point. Point 5. Shall we read together? The theory of evolution has given birth to other godless and evil schools of thoughts and philosophies, example, communism, socialism, anarchism, fascism, Nazism, and many immoral doctrines. It has also spawned immoral and lascivious societies where human beings behave like beasts. Before this concept of evolution, remember I drew last week, people always still have the concept and they accept without question the concept of what? God, right? Before that, they always knew there is God. There's God. But when Satan would raise this concept of evolution, evolution means ultimately there is no God. To the unbelievers, there's no God. When there's no God, means there is no what? No accountability. Understand that? Now, in the past, before this concept of evolution, because people still always believe that there is God, a supernatural power that is holy that will judge them when they sin. This concept exists in the heart of men. But Satan have to change that using evolution. Then when man began to say, hey, evolution, Actually, we came from immaterial. There's a big bang, then we all evolved. We came from monkeys, and then we are human beings. Then the concept, there's no God, no judgment, no hell, no fear. That is why it came up with many of, then from then onwards, before that, there is no such kind of philosophy. Communism, socialism, anarchism, fascism, Nazism. Before that, there is no such thing. This kind of philosophies. It's only after the concept of evolution that came that man began to come up with all these philosophies. Now, what are these philosophies? Communism, no God, right? Socialism, the social gospel. Do good for mankind. All must live equally. In terms of, so all this kind of thing. Anarchism. What is anarchism? What is anarchism? Students in school. Don't know. What is anarchism? No. Now, anarchism is anarchia, is anti-authority. Understand? All people became very anti-authority. Because why? God is the ultimate authority, right? So no God, why must I listen to anyone? So the concept of no God spawned the man's heart concept of there is no absolute authority over me. What about, and they hate authority. They hate authority. So young person, if you hate the authority of your parents at home, you have imbibed the concept of anarchism. Right? So next time when Shenri get naughty, go disobey, then you can say anarchism. You anarchy anak, right? Now, so it's the hatred for authority. Then what is fascism? All right, dictatorship. Then it became man say, I am the ultimate authority. So men rule like that. I can kill, I can murder, I can take away your land, I can cheat, I can do anything to you as long as I am in authority. I answer to no other authority, no fear. So dictatorship, Nazism, and so on. You know, in societies that do not believe that there is a God, the people will live without any fear of or accountability. That is why you have countries, communistic countries that keep saying there's no such thing as God. That's why in these countries you will hear crimes, very, very immoral, very sinful things that occur that you cannot even imagine that man would do this without care and without fear. You know, people that sell false baby powder? They know that the babies eat that, the babies will die. But because of this concept there is no God, because evolution spawned this concept there is no God, then all that matters is my life now, right? I must become as rich as possible, enjoy my life to the maximum while I am living. Because after I die, it's all over. So, and whatever I do to people, there is no judgment. I die, it's all over. There's no God, no judgment, right? And that's why man can do such terribly wicked thing with no conscience. Please remember, evolution theory is not simply, something that we learn in school, trying to be scientific. It is not. It is a concept that is spawned by Satan to create chaos in the society, hatred for the concept of God, and turning away from God. Understand? So before that, society always turned to some God. Now, we have people who are atheist. What's an atheist? Atheist. So better learn this word. Daniel, what is atheist? Someone who don't believe. As someone who do not believe in God. No such thing as the spiritual world. It's an means millennium, right? No. Theism, God. Yeah. Theos is God. Theos, not Theo. Theos, God, right? Theos, God. So, no God, no spiritual world. There's an atheist. Before that, there are no such thing as atheists, so to speak. Even they hate God, they don't want to obey God, they still know there is a God. But now is, you are crazy to believe in such a thing as God. Atheism spawned because of evolution. Understand? So in your heart, you must be very clear when you study in school. Don't be ashamed that, everyone believes in evolution except me. You must understand what is in the background. You must hate this. Much less say that God created through evolution. That is terrible. Now next. Now then how, page 15 or 31. Now how did God create then? So we study evolution and its evil implications. Now we turn to page 16 or page 32. Page 16, 32 in the new book. Now, creation. So let's study about creation. So this is how man came about. We're studying about man, right? This is how man came about. This is how the universe came about, not evolution. Now we study from God's word. Now, day one. So God created the world in how many days? Justin? 6. Very good. How many days, Daniel? 6, not 7, all right? 6. God rested on the 7. Very often people say 7. Now, 6 days. Now, first day, what was created? Look at here. Now, if you want, you can write next to your Bible, your BBK book to help you. Genesis 1:5. That is where God created heavens, right? God created heavens. God created angels, heavens. Now, this heaven is the second heaven and third heaven. We covered this in Teens Q&A already. How many heavens are there in the Bible when the Bible mentioned heavens? 3, right? There is, now this is the earth, there is the first heaven. First, this refers to our atmosphere, understand? Then there is the second heaven, which is outer space. All right? Where does outer space end? We don't know. Infinite, right? Outer space, although I draw a line. And then there is the third heaven, and that is the highest heaven. God often mentioned that the highest heaven, that is where God exists, God dwells. Okay? So it is explained like that in the Bible to help us understand. So day one, heavens, which is space. So space and the third heaven. Darkness. Please remember this. There was a time there was no such thing as space. Remember? No such thing as time. This is when God began time. Before that, there's no such thing as time. God just exists outside time, outside space. There's no such thing as the universe. So God spoke it into existence. So darkness, there was no such thing as darkness, understand? Darkness, there was no such thing as darkness. So darkness is created. Now next, light. God created light. And then the earth without form. God created light. Science tells us, or people teach us, darkness is the absence of light, right? But you must remember, before darkness exists, there is no darkness. God created darkness, okay? So you must remember that. And God created light. Of course, when you bring light into darkness, then light, it becomes light. Now, I want you to notice several things. Can you please turn your Bibles to Genesis 1:1? Now, because of the theory of evolution, Christians began to change the Bible. Genesis 1:1, let's read together. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, there are Bibles, for example, the Good News Translation, GNT. It will read in the beginning, in the beginning, when God created, when God created heaven and earth. Verse 2, the earth was without void. Now, why do they add in the beginning when God created? Why? Because the Christian began to believe in evolution theory, God created through evolution. So they say when God created, there was already pre-existing things. Right? What's evolution? There are pre-existing non-living things. Then they all mix, eventually become a living thing, right? So to them is, these things pre-existed when God created through evolution, okay? Through using all these non-living things. But the Bible is clear. In the beginning, God created. God spoke these things into existence, everything. And He spoke living things into existence, not through evolution. Okay, so we'll see more of that afterwards, about how many days? Is it billions of years? Now, day one, so this other one. Now, let me ask you, Yanwei, where do we get light during the day outside? From the sun. Day one, did God create the sun? Huh? Okay. All right. No. Toto, why you laugh? Right, no. Notice that God did not create the sun yet. When did God create the sun? In day 4. Okay, God created the sun day 4. So, this is very important for the Christian to realize. This is the glory of God. God do not need, no light yet. I need to create sun, then there is light. This creation sequence is for God to show us His power. Does God need to have a sun first, then there can be such a thing as light? No. God says the concept of light exists. That's it. Okay, so please remember that. Now, this will cause the children of Israel to remember, because they are neighboring countries. They worship what? They worship the sun god. So, last time I like all these things. I realized that, these are all pagan, Actually, I still have a pillow at home like that. I'll throw it away. Now, they always have this happy face, and then, right? The sun is a happy face, right? Then over time, very stylo design. You go to designer houses, always have this kind of thing, right? You have that. Now, it is from the pagan concept of worshipping the sun god, because to the pagans they think that their vegetables grow, their fruit tree grows because the sun, right? The sun give it light. The sun give it life. So they worship the sun. But when the children of Israel understand who is the one who gave light, God, not the sun. God created light. Then they must always remember it is God that give life. That God that give them the life for their crops. It is God that gave light, not sun first. Okay? So they must understand it. For the Christian, the same. Now next. Day 2. Day 2, God created the firmament or the sky to divide waters above and below. So this will be the first heaven. Alright, so day 2, then the first heaven come about. Hey, parents, I keep telling you all, your time BBK can use this to teach at home. So you can go through your children again at home. So day 2, then God created the atmosphere. Then there's water in heaven. Then there's water on earth. Alright, to divide it. Now, day 3, God created earth, land, and sea. Well, day 2, you can put verse 8. Alright, day 3, verses 9 to 12, and 14 to 18, and 9 to 12. The earth, land, seas, oceans, planets, vegetation. Okay, so now here, look. So first, heavens, then the atmosphere, and then water, earth, land, and then there is what? On day 3, earth, land, seas, ocean, plants, and vegetation. So now there are plants. Green color. There are plants. Alright, plants. Trees, vegetation, plants, fruits, and all that. So this is day 3, Day 3. Then day 4. Lights of heaven, moon, stars in our galaxy. So stars, the various light-emitting bodies in heaven, for example, sun. So they're all in the sky. In the sky. So that is day 4. Now, here is something that in school, some of you have gone through this, so just be patient, or maybe I'll ask you. Okay, I Ask who? Ask Anna. Anna, God created, for example, the oak tree, big oak tree on earth. When did God create that? Day 3, right? Day 3. Did God say, I created seed and wait for it to grow? God created vegetation. Alright? Now, so people say that this is not scientific. Because, and how long does it take for a tree to grow very big and thick? Many years, right? Many years. So they say, you know, when you cut these trees, you will see that they have all these circle things, right? You know why they have these circle things? Because it's growing layer by layer, right? So we see all these circle things. They say, you know, from this circle to this circle, it takes years, you know. So how can suddenly a tree come about, right? So that's one argument. So they say, doesn't make sense. Trees take time to grow. And then they say this. So you pay attention and I ask you, those of you who have known. They say this, right? Now, God created the sun. But they said, how far is the sun from the earth? Joash, you must know. Okay. Now, it's far, very far, right? Now, does light takes time to travel? Does it take? It takes time to travel. There's a speed of light, right? Speed of light. So they say, because of the distance, now, in order for the tree to grow, it needs light, it needs sunlight. So, how to then, Adam and Eve, right? Adam and Eve was created, right? Then Adam and Eve, it takes time for them to be able to see the sun, right? So, it takes a long time. Evolution takes a long time. Now, how do you answer that? So, they say it takes a long time. How do you answer that? Samantha. So, your friends say, hey, you know, it takes a long time. And it takes a long time before men can see it. It takes time for the light to travel here, to earth. When God created everything, He created them full grown. You agree? Shen-Ning? Is it possible? It's possible. Of course it's possible. God spoke the universe into existence. There is no such thing as time. He spoke time into existence. Is it very difficult for Him to say, I want trees to be like that? And He can speak, and a tree with fully grown features is in there? Of course. When God created Adam and Eve, did God created baby Adam, like Toto, and wait for baby Adam to grow up? And then when God created Eve to marry Adam, then Adam have to wait, you know. Still evolving. I stir a bit more, still takes millions of years. I'm still waiting for Eve to come. God spoke and Eve was formed, right? Through the ribs. That's it. Not baby, but fully grown adult. Understand that? Okay, Adam could walk, Adam could talk, and all that. Don't need God to feed him with a spoon. What about light? What about light? Ben Cho, what do you think? They say, but you know, it takes time for light to reach the plants. Take time for Adam and Eve. It takes long time, you know, for the light to travel to reach. Very good. Point number 1. God said, let there be light. Means the whole universe was filled with light. Light just, it's just like it was dark. I turn on, then the whole room is filled with light. Okay, can God do that? Of course God can do that. God don't have to, light, oh no. I forgot. I must wait for the light to arrive. No, God says, I already said there will be light in the universe first. Okay, so God don't have to wait. So God can create the light already in existence in the whole space. So don't be frightened by evolution. Now when you know all this, it means it reflects the glory of God. Understand that? The power of God. So next, light, heaven, inner stars. Okay, day 4, light, heaven, moon, stars, fish and fowl, beasts and creeping things. Now I want you to notice that in the Genesis creation account, there is the repeated phrase, after its kind, after its kind, after its kind. Justin, why do you think so? Okay, asking Justin. Ben, why do you think so? God keeps repeating after it's kind. Why do you think? Yeah, Ben. Yeah, Ben can, yes. Okay, let's turn to Genesis chapter 1, verse 24. Actually, even before verse 24, verse 21. All right? God created, Genesis 1:21, God created great whales, every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth. God did not evolve. The Bible says God created. After their kind, the winged fowl after his kind. So birds are birds. Birds don't become fishes. Then verse 22. Verse 24. Living creature after its kind. So cattle, creeping things after its kind. Okay, verse 25. After the beasts of the earth after its kind. And then creeping things after its kind. You know why kind, God keeps saying kind? It's to emphasize species. Kind means species. How did species come about? God says, I'm the one who creates things that creep. I'm the one that creates things that the beasts that walk on earth. The cow cannot fly, all right, over the moon. The beast cannot. But birds can fly, bats can fly. It's the kind. I'm the one who created, not evolution. So if you want to believe in theistic evolution, you have to say Genesis chapter 1 and 2, all lies. Understand that? Okay? So Daniel, if you want to believe in God created through evolution, then God is a liar. Because God said, I created the kinds. Okay? Now, next week we will want to see how many days. Wait, finish first. Now, so when did God created man and woman? Day 6. Okay, day 6. God created fowls. Fowls means like chicken, right? Chicken. So maybe I ask Yan Wei. The world would like to say chicken. This is a chicken or egg issue. The chicken or egg issue. Which one comes first? Chicken or egg issue. So what do you think is the answer? Is it chicken or egg first? Chicken. All right. So the Christian, I used to say that, so I must stop. I said, this is a chicken and egg issue. So difficult to solve. The Christian should never say that. We know it is the chicken that came first. Then they lay eggs. Okay. Then from there, God used that process. So chicken or egg, no such thing. It's chicken first. Right, so God created man. Now, day 7, God rested. I ask you to go back and think. Now, someone asked, what is the difference between psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs? Someone also asked, can we just have instrumental music? Can we worship God with instrumental music?